Welcome back to Grimverse History, where we uncover the strange and forgotten sides of history. Tonight we expose how Rome punished betrayal, not by law, but by power, gender, and spectacle. Rome claimed loyalty was sacred above all else, but when that loyalty was broken by a woman, justice did not arrive with a blade. It arrived with music, animals, humiliation, and time. One man was executed cleanly as a noble traitor. One woman was turned into a spectacle meant to last for hours. This is the story Rome hoped you would never ask about. You are standing beneath the Colosseum's shadow. Stone sweats as thousands wait above. Chains scrape softly behind you. Valyria waits in silence and Rome watches her fall. Before we step further into this arena, take a moment to support Grimverse History. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us where you're listening from tonight. These stories echo differently across the world now. Dim the lights, slow your breathing, and lower your expectations of mercy. This is not a tale of heroism or redemption. This is a ritual of power disguised as justice. Rome believed fear worked best when shared publicly. It is the 2nd century after Christ. The Colosseum prepares a punishment never meant to end quickly. A woman is led toward a myth made of wood and fire. But history is about to fracture at the final moment. Valyria did not fall from power in a single moment. She descended the way Rome preferred important people to fall, slowly, deliberately, and with witnesses carefully arranged. You remember how close she once stood to the center of power. Her footsteps sounded soft against polished marble corridors. Her voice traveled farther than it should have. The emperor listened, and that alone made her dangerous. Power in Rome tolerated proximity only when it remained obedient. Familiarity, especially feminine familiarity, was treated as a liability. Rome called it discipline, but it practiced something closer to choreography. One morning the curtains remained drawn longer than usual. The air felt heavier, as if the walls already knew. Guards entered without ceremony, without explanation, without haste. Silk was removed carefully, as if it might be reused. Change replaced it with professional efficiency. Rome was very skilled at changing costumes. Marcus Aurelius fell in the same week. His betrayal followed a familiar Roman script: a short procession, a sharpened blade, a clean conclusion. The executioner did not rush, but he did not linger either. The sound was brief, almost respectful. You notice how silence behaves around noble executions? It does not scream or demand attention. It simply closes the scene and moves on. Valyria received a longer sentence, though Rome avoided that word. Her punishment arrived divided into stages. Time became the instrument. Not mercy hours mattered more than precision. You feel the temperature drop as she is moved underground. The stone sweats faintly against the iron. Chains scrape the floor at a pace meant to be noticed. Nothing here is accidental, including the waiting. They stop using her name first. They replace it with function. An example requires anticipation. Anticipation requires delay. Above her, the Colosseum breathes patiently. Crowds gather early, practicing enthusiasm. Vendors sell food meant to last through suffering. The architecture understands human attention very well. You walk beside her because the story insists. Rome does not explain its choices aloud. It prefers contrast to do the teaching. A man is removed swiftly to preserve dignity. A woman is displayed slowly to preserve memory. Valyria understands the difference before the gates open. Understanding does not change the outcome, it only sharpens awareness. The crowd will not shout her crime, they already memorized it. They will shout timing instead. This is not justice as Rome defines it. This is performance with a moral attached. And Rome never wasted a good stage. Rome did not improvise death. Rome rehearsed it the way others rehearse theater. You feel this immediately when the procession begins. The sound arrives before the sight ever does. Sandals strike stone in practice rhythm. Chains answer back with dull agreement. The crowd leans forward because this part matters. This walk is not about transport. This walk is about subtraction. Every step removes another layer of personhood. Names disappear first, then posture, then expectation. You notice how carefully the pace is controlled. Too slow but comfort. Balanced precisely in the middle. The condemned does not look at the crowd looks everywhere at once. That is how shame spreads efficiently. This is not execution yet, this is preparation disguised as ceremony. Rome understood that humiliation softened resistance better than pain. A pause settles into the arena like dust. You smell animals before you see them. The handlers arrive with practiced boredom. The beasts perform obedience rather than chaos. Everything here follows instruction, even fear. The bestiarii step forward without urgency. They are entertainers more than executioners. They tease danger without completing it. Controlled threat keeps the audience alert, but comfortable. You notice how laughter rises in safe intervals. This is humiliation measured carefully by design. The crowd enjoys proximity without responsibility. Rome always outsorts guilt to distance. Then the noise changes, texture, not louder, but tighter. Anticipation sharpens when myth enters the space. Wood creaks as something symbolic rolls forward. It looks harmless from far away. You recognize the outline before the explanation arrives. Rome loved myths that required bodies. Stories work better when flesh participated. The wooden cow stands waiting without comment. Objects never needed to justify themselves. You feel the temperature shift slightly. Heat gathers where spectacle reaches its peak. The crowd quiets because quiet heightens memory. This is the moment Rome planned for longest. Not the end, but the meaning. Death here is not finality. Death here is narrative closure. You realize something uncomfortable as you watch. The condemned has already become a prop. Her body serves structure rather than justice. Ritual transforms cruelty into tradition efficiently. Rome did not ask whether this was necessary. Rome asked whether it was effective. The crowd will remember this sequence clearly. They will forget the individual almost immediately. That balance kept the empire stable for centuries. This was never about killing quickly. This was about teaching slowly. The cell smells like damp stone and waiting. Iron breathes slowly in the corners. Time here moves with no obligation to hurry. You stand close enough to hear her breathe. Valyria does not pace or plead. She listens, because listening still works. In Rome, silence often hears more than voices. This is where power changes shape. Not upward, not outward, but inward. She has no blade, no guard, no name. She has information which travels better than keys. When Saturninus enters, he brings paperwork and confidence. He smells faintly of ink and polished certainty. You notice how he avoids the walls. Walls remember too much in places like this. They exchange nothing at first. That alone unsettles him. Rome trains men to expect gratitude. She offers accuracy instead. Valyria speaks the first name calmly, then the second without emphasis. By the fifth, his posture changes slightly. By the ninth, the room cools in response. She lists 12 names without checking herself. They are not guesses, they are dates waiting for ink. You feel the weight of certainty settle. Saturninus does not interrupt her. He cannot afford to correct perfection. Men like him trust systems until systems say their names. She stops speaking exactly when she should. Not early, not late, but precise. Silence becomes the 13th entry. You notice how fear enters quietly. It does not rush or shout. It reorganizes priorities without permission. She does not threaten him directly. That would be inefficient. She suggests that lists tend to multiply. She suggests that margins hide notes. Saturninus imagines his own name written small. He imagines handwriting he does not recognize. This is how survival calculations begin. Power in Rome respects leverage, not virtue. He asks questions that sound procedural. She answers with restraint that feels expensive. You sense the negotiation turn gentle. Gentle negotiations last longer. She offers no demands, only relevance. Outside, water drips in consistent intervals. Inside, decisions relay quietly. Saturninus does not promises. He leaves with a plan shaped like caution. She remains with time shaped like opportunity. This is not mercy at work. This is risk management changing hands. The corridor smells colder when he goes. Torches whisper rather than flare. You feel something shift without celebration. Valyria leans back against stone that listens. She does not smile. Smiling wastes energy in Rome. Information did not save her yet. It purchased uncertainty, which was rarer. Uncertainty delays conclusions politely. You realize something as the silence returns. Rome fears disorder more than cruelty. She has offered disorder in measured doses. The cell resumes its breathing. The night continues, counting footsteps somewhere above. Schedules quietly adjust. This was never a bargain for freedom. It was a delay with consequences attached. And in Rome, delay was often enough. The arena breathes differently at the finale. You feel it before anything moves. Heat gathers under stone like a held fort. The wooden cow waits with practiced patience. You stand close enough to hear ropes tighten. Wood creaks with the honesty of old tools. The crowd settles into expectation. Final moments usually arrive on time in Rome. Valyria walks because walking is still required. Her feet remember marble, then forget it. The smell here is resin, sweat, and anticipation. Objects prepare better than people ever do. This is where stories normally end. Rome prefers endings that land cleanly. Myths work best when uninterrupted. The Ordima. Then the sound arrives from the wrong direction. Boots strike stone too fast for ceremony. A voice cuts the air without permission. You hear panic wearing official clothing. A messenger pushes through order carelessly. He speaks names that freeze movement. He speaks of steel aimed elsewhere. He speaks of the emperor breathing danger. Nothing stops an arena faster than misplaced fear. The crowd forgets choreography instantly. Guards forget posture and remember survival. The wooden cow remains unfinished business. Saturninus turns pale with administrative accuracy. Recognition travels faster than accusation. Hands reach for him before he decides anything. Rome erects effapes when it becomes in infinite speed. Spectacle requires control, not urgency. Urgency always ruins the lighting. Valyria does not move at first. Moving draws attention during confusion. Confusion offers cover without guarantees. She stays exactly where neglect leaves her. This is not rescue. This is interruption, wearing authority. Rome pours, executions only for itself. The air cools as momentum breaks. You hear individual voices again. Individual voices sound smaller than crowds. Later arrives quietly, as later always does. It smells cleaner and costs more. This is where the palace remembers usefulness. The Empress Disha does not raise her voice. She does not need to. Power speaks softly when it already won. She studies Valyria like an inventory revision. Entertainment disappoints, but information endures. Disha understands asset conversion. Professionally, a dead woman teaches briefly. A living exile teaches continuously. You feel the sentence change texture. Death feels heavy and final. Exile feels light and endless. Rome prefers tools that travel. Valyria listens without gratitude. Gratitude complicates counterfeits, non mercia. Borders replace blades with equal precision. The crowd never receives closure. Clay belongs to administrators, not witnesses. They leave with fragments and opinions. Rome leaves with a rearranged ledger. You notice how quietly survival sounds. No cheers follow this outcome. No myth requires immediate correction. The wooden cow waits for another calendar. It trades drama for continuity instead. Continuity keeps empires awake longer. Valyria walks away carrying new instructions. They weigh less than chains, but last longer. History calls this survival with footnotes. Rome calls it efficient problem solving. Valyria is not saved by compassion in this place. Compassion rarely survives long inside organized violence. You do not hear it echo through stone corridors. You stand close enough to recognize the pattern. No official voice softens its tone. No crowd pauses because sympathy arrives late. Rome does not stop because it feels regret. She survives because usefulness appears before finality. Timing matters more than moral arguments ever could. In Rome, value travels faster than mercy. You sense the system shifting beneath your feet, not because it grows kinder, because it becomes temporarily unstable. Instability opens doors without unlocking them. Valyria understands this without explanation. She offers relevance instead. Relevance speaks fluently in imperial spaces. Information changes weight depending on the hour. Earlier, it sounded like rumor. Later, it functioned as leverage. Chinem upbreak knowledge without rewriting facts. You watch priorities rearrange themselves. Administrators revise outcomes without visible emotion. Chaos never asks permission before entering. This is where intelligence does its quiet work. Not dramatic, not noble, not admired, just accurate enough to delay an ending. But accuracy alone never guarantees survival. Something else always enters the equation. Luck arrives without invitation or explanation. You feel it when sound changes direction. Plans collapse because another plan interrupts. Survival often depends on interference. Valyria did not predict the messenger's arrival. She prepared the ground, not the weather. Preparation invites possibility without promising outcomes. This difference matters inside brutal systems. Effort widens opportunity. Chance decides who passes through, not safer, but unresolved in texture. You realize how narrow the margin truly was. A few breaths earlier, she becomes memory. A few breaths later, she becomes currency. History pivots on uncomfortable seconds like these. Rome does not reward understanding with freedom. It converts it into another assignment. Exile replaces execution with quieter consequences. Distance functions better than forgiveness. Ever could, you notice something unsettling as silence recurrence. Survival does not prove justice existed. It proves alignment occurred briefly. Valyria aligns effort with timing correctly. Luck aligns itself without caring who benefits. The intersection holds just long enough. This is the truth Rome never announced publicly. Intelligence opens doors, temporarily. Fate decides which doors remain open. You step away from the moment slowly. Another spectacle waits on another calendar. Valyria walks away alive. For now, that is the outcome, not reassurance. The lesson arrives quietly, without applause. The noise softens now, and stone grows quiet. The night exhales at last. Behind us, the Colosseum rests in shadow, its arches cooling after human voices fade. You almost hear sand settling, wood creaking as it forgets its purpose, torches shrinking back into darkness. Rome always looks calm after it finishes speaking. It leaves no explanation behind. You feel distance returning slowly. The weight of ancient air lifts from your shoulders. The smell of iron fades into ordinary silence. History loosens its grip without asking permission. What remains is not the spectacle, but the quiet afterward, when power steps away and time resumes breathing like anyone else. You are no longer beneath stone vaults. You are here again, listening, safe in the present. If this journey stayed with you, if the quiet mattered as much as the story, you are welcome to linger a little longer. A gentle light helps these stories travel. A quiet subscription keeps the door open. Sharing is simply another way of remembering. We leave the torches behind. The sand rests, and the night closes its pages. Thank you for listening slowly, and for staying until the silence. Goodbye, and we will meet again.